Alright, this video is going to be showing you how to use the polishing wheel. So the first thing you want to check is that it says clean. If it says dirty, do not use without me sanitizing it for you. There are 4 different wheels here, and there are 2 machines that start and stop on the same side. So they're exactly the same machine, they just have different wheels used for different purposes. So that is how you turn it on. The first wheel that I'm going to be using is the grittiest wheel, and then it goes down in grit until it ends up with the red polish, which should get it nice and shiny and perfect. So for example purposes, I'm just going to be sitting down in this video so you can actually see up close what the wheels are doing. Generally, you would not be sitting down while you are sanding and polishing. That is not a thing. So first thing I do is I turn on the wheel. This yellow wheel is the grittiest, but it actually doesn't hurt, so I can put my finger up to it and it's not going to hurt me. You do want to hold on to your metal pretty tight though, because if you let go of your metal, it's going to flip and maybe possibly shoot out at you. So I'm holding onto it with 2 hands and I'm going back and forth, letting the bristles touch the part of the metal. And as you can see, my metal was extremely dirty, this example, and it already has cleaned it up so much. It's very shiny. This wheel is used for getting out the bigger scratches in your piece. Now, it won't get out everything, but if you have some tarnish on it, or if there are some lighter scratches, this wheel is going to do the bulk of the work. And again, like I said, it goes down in grit, so it's very much like hand sanding, but it goes much quicker. So for the sake of time, I'm not going to do everything, but you would want to do both sides of your metal piece. Again, going back and forth, just watching your fingers, making sure to keep everything out of the wheel's way. So this is the gray wheel. Again, it's going down in grittiness. It is still going to take off some of those scratches, but not the deepest ones. Remember that both wheels are spinning at the same time, so even though you are the only one at the machine, please be cognizant of the yellow wheel also spinning. So I'm going back and forth again, and you want to think about it like hand sanding, where you would do like a checkerboard pattern. You can also sort of buff it in little circular motions depending on your piece or the intricacies of your piece. So if you have a lot of negative space, or if this is very fragile, sometimes the polishing wheels are not for you. You might want to hand sand this, but if you have a bulkier piece like the one that I'm using, these wheels work really well. So last thing is you're going to turn off the machine and make sure that every wheel that you've used, you switch to dirty so they can be sanitized. Okay, now we're going to move on to polishing. There are 2 different types of polish. And again, this machine turns on the same way. The first one we're going to use is blue. So these wheels are soft linen, and we are going to first apply polish before we start to buff them. So you don't see in this video, but I do make sure that the wheels are on. They like to fall off a lot and tightened. But I'm going to turn on the machine and then just gradually add a little bit of polish by putting the block right up against the wheel like I would if I were trying to buff the metal. This adds just a little polish, and again, I didn't do it for very long because I can always add more. Sometimes too much polish will leave a black residue on your metal, and it doesn't look very pretty. So I did it for about 1 second, and it's already very shiny. So these wheels are super effective. The biggest mistake that students make is they press their metal too hard into the wheel, and the wheel will fall off. So let the wheel do the work for you. I am pressing just a little bit to give it some pressure, and that friction is getting rid of all those leftover scratches that the first 2 wheels didn't take off. You will see a black residue on the outside. That's just the polish, and I'll show you at the end of the video how to get off that polish. But I'm doing basically the same thing, going in small little movements, little circles, back and forth, trying to get all those lines to be even. These wheels do get very hot, so I recommend that after a while you kind of take a break, because your metal can be sometimes very hot to hold. So I'm done with that wheel just for that spot, so I switched it to dirty. I'm going to do the same thing with the red wheels. I'm going to add the red polish. And some people only like to use 1 type of polish, but using 2 gets it to its shiniest. You want that mirror shine on your finished metal project. So again, doing the same thing, pushing up just a little bit of pressure to add more friction, going back and forth in that spot that I just polished. And obviously I'm doing this very fast for the sake of the video, but you would want to spend enough time to polish your entire piece at once. Sometimes people like to use a wood block to get a little bit more leverage and make sure that the wheels aren't bending their metal, especially if they have some fragile pieces and there's a lot of negative space. So that leverage in that block helps it stay straight and even. Look at how shiny that is. You can see yourself in it. Mirror shine. Awesome. I did a great job. Okay, so I'm going to turn the machine off, switch it to dirty. And the last thing we're going to do is just to make sure that we get that residue off of the metal. So we are going to take a polishing cloth and buff it ever so slightly to even out that residue. Sometimes when pieces have a lot of texture, it's hard to get that off. You might want to use a Q-tip or a toothpick to kind of get that off. But all that residue is gone. And now you want to handle your metal from the edges. You never want to put fingerprints on that shiny, beautiful metal that you just made. So be very careful once you're finished. And that's my finished piece.